Yet another person in the U.S. government saying aliens are real. That we are not alone. That there is more proof than anything else. In a crazy, crazy interview with TMZ, Tim Burchett, who, it's amazing. I've talked about this before, where there's been some senators and there's been some congressmen, there's been people who were front and center of the UAP stuff, especially around the 2023 area. Tim Burchett was definitely one of them. He was the one we talked about the most when we started talking about this. And then he kind of stepped back a little bit, or maybe just behind the scenes. Clearly it doesn't look like he ever lost interest in the subject, but it was Luna and Nancy Mace and Garcia and Moskowitz and Getz and Burleson, who were kind of, Burleson really was the most front and center recently, and Luna pretty front and center. Well, Burchett seems to be coming back and really being front and center and talking a lot of things. And not only is he one of the guys kind of leading the charge to get rid of Arrow, there's new legislation that he's putting forward to dismember them and get rid of that, disband, shouldn't do dismember, but disband the Arrow. He's going on many different shows and talking about the things that he was told, not in detail, but just kind of confirming more so than he has in the past and other people have. And I think since the order of trying to make everything clear to the public, in which Trump had said that they're out there talking a lot more. So I want to play this full 4-minute clip that comes from TMZ that they posted recently. And it was an interview that they were having with Burchett. And TMZ, I know, has been covering this topic. Hell, I was almost on the show. I don't know if they're even still doing the show anymore, but there was a show that they were doing where we were talking about these types of things. They're definitely interested in it. I can tell you firsthand, it's not just like a kind of a gimmick to them, like, oh, people are talking about it. They're very interested in it. I said, and because I was skeptical, they had found me at one point from my channel, and I went in and I was in a room with a bunch of different people talking about these topics. They didn't treat it as a goof. They didn't treat it as if it was just, again, way to get clicks and other things too. They legit wanted people who knew about the subject because they were interested in it. And you can tell from this conversation that they're having here with Burchett. So I want to play this clip and then we'll talk about what was said on the other side of it. Here it is.
What did you see now? I guess it would be about 2 weeks ago. That was very alarming, the way you said that, at least.
Yeah, well, because of the circumstances and where it was, I can't get into too much specifics, but it was elaborating on some stuff that we'd asked for, and it was important to get this person in a secure setting to where we could ask him these questions. And there was somebody in the meeting with us, one of my colleagues, I guess you'd say, was basically there just to kind of upset the apple cart and to throw, a monkey wrench into the deal. And every time a question was asked by this particular party, it was really the answers were out there, and they gave them, and they gave specifics, they gave addresses, they gave times and dates and people that were in the meeting. And this went all the way up to the executive branch of previous presidents, not this current president.
So there have been different reports over the years. Some reports that there have been pieces of machinery that were found that did not seem earthly. And then there have been reports about life that is not earthly. Which one of those two, or both, are you talking about? A form of life that is not earthly, or just something mechanical that's not earthly?
I'd say you'd be safe to say both.
The way you described this, whatever happened at this meeting, this briefing that was happening, was there something that if we knew, we would feel that we are in danger? You said you wouldn't sleep at night if you knew the things that I saw in these briefings.
Yeah.
Should we believe that that's the part where it seemed alarming?
I don't think we're at danger of this. I mean, if these things exist as I think they do, they could have destroyed us with a blink of an eye. I just don't see that. And I think I just think, but I do think they have the technology and the capabilities of of something that we can't understand or we can't grasp.
What I want to make sure I'm understanding is a member of our government has told you and others, I guess, that there is a form of alien life and machinery which maybe brought this living creature here that interacted in some form with people?
Yeah, they have, and they've. It's pretty wild. I know, but I'm just telling you, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd take a lie to tell you. You want to put me on a polygraph, I'll take it. But this is what the guy told me. I mean, I've had a very high-ranking naval official describe. I've talked about this before. Underwater craft, something big as a football field, moving at over 200 miles an hour. And there's no fish in the ocean that would do that. We don't even have a sub that'll probably do 40 miles an hour under the. And the last thing he said before he left my office was, it was kind of weird because he didn't go out he went out the side door, which nobody ever uses. And he looked at me, he pulled me up close. He said, "Tim, they're real." And that's the last thing he said to me. That'll be the title of my book, I guess. Matt Gaetz was involved in something here just recently. He was interviewed and he talked about this interbreeding thing with.
We saw that. We saw that.
Yeah. Well, that's a true story. That was military personnel. I think that would be a good story to talk to him about if you all can do that.
Right. He says he learned that from someone in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a guy, it was an officer in uniform.
Yeah.
And Matt and I and Representative Luna, we all went down to Florida, and we were turned away. And then Matt made a phone call to somebody at the Pentagon, and all of a sudden they opened the doors and brought the pilots in that were supposed to tell us the story in the first place. And he can probably elaborate a little bit more on that. But that was pretty fantastic. That was a made-for-TV special right there in itself.
It's a lot more open talk going on now on all these different shows and all these different clips that are out there. I mean, a lot of different people are talking, and especially about these things. Like if you've been covering this or following this long enough, you know about the meeting that he gets and Luna had. They just never really talked about the things that were talked about it inside. And as he mentioned, he gets talked about the interbreeding thing. That's not the first time we've heard about that from other people. Now there's also the side of it, the flip side of the thing that you can always have to be aware of is the potential of information that's out there, disinformation that could be out there to tell people things of that nature, to make them eventually talk about it or get that word out there to make it seem less credible. It's not to say that it isn't something that's potential. It's so fucking crazy and weird that you don't even, think that it could be true. But who knows? And nowadays, who the hell knows? I think the bigger story is the fact that we again have someone in the government on these shows talking about this, very matter of factly saying they're real, and he's talking about these things. And they said, "Well, you're saying that it's potentially craft or beings," and he's saying both. And he said in other interviews that if you heard about some of the things that we heard, it would blow your mind. And he's also said these types of things in the past where if these things wanted to take us out, they would have. They could have. It's just the technology they have you can't even fathom really what it is. I would really like to know what was said all the way through. And I would really like to know for him, because he's a very religious person. I would like to know where the things that he heard, how it plays into his religion, plays against his religion, all those types of things, because there have been people on record saying, angels and demons and things of that nature. And is it the perception of what that was? He brings up, and I'm pretty sure he's talking about Tim Gallaudet when he's talking about the guy who we spoke to him on this show. He talked about the same type of thing, the things that were seen in the water, the things that had happened. But the major story, once again, is that this is someone out there talking about these things. And I also think that we're at a point in just in this country in general, we're such a split country overall that if a member of one team is talking about things, then the news network that covers the other team is not going to feature that person in a particular thing unless they said something stupid. But then again, even the team that does cover it, they don't seem to be putting it as a main priority. Or maybe they did. I don't know. I haven't been paying enough attention to it. Maybe they did cover this story. But the majority of what I see when it comes to this topic still is through social media. And this was a heavy topic or heavy article and a video clip that I saw getting cycled around many times over, talking about the fact that here we go. This is a guy who's talking about this, who's in the government, discussing the fact that these things are real. And he's pretty much confirming that these things, Burchett's been out there many times making it pretty clear that he doesn't believe it's other countries, anything else except that. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, he is openly has documentation out there now trying to disband Arrow and trying to get rid of Arrow, which I think is the best play. I think they're dishonest. I think they were put together to throw things off. I mean, Sean Kirkpatrick was an absolute symbol of what they were. That's Arrow in a nutshell. And they just, the whistleblowers don't feel comfortable in front of them. That's why you have Burleson on the other side putting together legislation to make sure that, whistleblowers are protected. So there's a lot going on. What's the next big piece of information right now? Unfortunately, and as much as this is very relevant, unfortunately, it's still a lot of talk. Because until there's something concrete and something that comes out, it's been slower on this side of things. Even with the big story was that we're going to make all the documents public. Now, with the war and everything else going on, it doesn't seem to be a priority right now. And will it become a priority down the line? I don't know. But I still think this is a big news story. I really do. I think it's a big news story, and I think as open, and the fact that people are talking about it so openly now on bigger platforms is a big step. And it could lead to what Matt Brown says about more civilian information, more so than just letting the government be the gatekeepers. Because I think for the longest time, we just let the government say either it's not real, don't worry about it, look that way instead of that way. And we go, oh, okay, Roswell, it's an alien craft. It is? Oh my God, what are we going to do? No, it's a balloon. Okay. Oh, this wasn't that. It was a balloon. Oh, okay. Not to say that there weren't a lot of balloons, but there's other things out there that people can't explain. So anyway, what do you guys think of all this? What do you think about what Burchett's saying? You dig it? You understand? You believe what he's saying? Do you think we're going to get more information about what they actually did here? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. I was on vacation, so that's why I didn't have any videos out. I should hopefully remedy that over this next week or so. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the flip side.